Good morning, everybody. Thank you for calling into our South San Francisco Virtual Small Business Relief Town Hall. I'm going to give folks just about another minute or so before we officially start this town hall. So just hang tight and we'll start shortly. Okay, everybody, we'll go ahead and get started here. Thank you so much for joining us this morning and joining our virtual Small Business Relief Town Hall. My name is Leslie Arroyo, and I'm the Communications Director for the City of South San Francisco, and I will be the moderator for this morning's Small Business Relief Town Hall. I first wanted to just quickly explain how today's meeting will go. First and foremost, all the lines are muted, and that's just simply because of our technology. And for this large phone call to occur, it's hard to make this a productive call when we have our lines live, and we want to make sure we can hear our presenters. So we do have everybody on mute except for our presenters. But we do want to let you know that if you have a question this morning, there's 3 ways that you can reach us. If you happen to be joining this call via your computer, there is a chat or a question function. You could submit a question that way. We have people monitoring that, and we will address your question during this town hall. Another way you can reach us is you can email us at biz, which is B-I-Z, resources at ssf.net. Biz, B-I-Z, resources at ssf.net during this call, and we've got people monitoring that email line, and we will address your questions that way. And the third way you can send a question is if you want to text your question, you can text it to 650-636-6668. Again, you can text your question to 650-636-6668. If after this call a question does come up, please don't hesitate to email us at bizresources@ssf.net. Again, that's B-I-Z, resources at ssf.net. And we will, of course, respond to your email after the town hall. All of the questions from today, along with the audio recording, will be posted on our website. And that website is ssf.net/biz, B-I-Z, resources. And we will have a recording and video of this town hall that will be live by 2 p.m. on our website. The Q&A that will follow will be available on our website by end of day today. Now what I'd like to do is introduce our speakers. And our first person that we have on the phone today, or if you're calling in and on your computer, you can see our city manager, Mike Futrell, and he has a few words to say. Mike?
Good morning. Thank you, Leslie. And thank you for tuning in to learn more about the help that our city is providing to our small businesses in South San Francisco. A short while ago, our city council allocated funding for a small business relief fund, and that's what will be detailed today. Our city council has taken other actions as well. There is a moratorium in place against commercial evictions, for example. And while we hope that you're working with your landlord, know that that tool is available to you if needed. We are working every day with a business recovery team in lockstep with our Chamber of Commerce and with other regional economic organizations to try to not just help you survive through this pandemic, but then thrive on the other side. Know that we are with you and available anytime to answer questions, to provide advice, to help you navigate the really maze of federal and state relief programs that are available. All of that is on our website, and I encourage you, as Leslie did, to check that out. There is a business recovery page there, ssf.net, and there'll be plenty of information available. So you're not here to hear me, you're here to hear Nell and Ernesto, and thank you both for working so hard to put this program together in a short amount of time. But again, thank you for tuning in. Know that your city council cares, and we're here for you. So back to you, Leslie, and let's get learning about this program.
All right, great. Thanks, Mike. All right, and as Mike alluded to, we've got Ernesto Lucero on the phone, and he is with our city's Economic and Community Development Department, and he's going to actually walk us through the actual small business relief program and what that entails. So I'm going to turn it over to Ernesto.
Great, thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Mike. Good morning. My name is Ernesto Lucero with the city's Economic and Community Development Department. I'll go ahead and share my screen. Does that look okay, Leslie?
It looks great. Thanks, Ernesto.
Okay, perfect. So we'd just like to give some high-level details about this new microloan program we've created. It's available for small businesses in South San Francisco. We wanted to walk you through the application process as well. All this will be opening up tomorrow. So the goal of today is try to get everybody familiar with the eligibility and the documents that you might be needing to submit for tomorrow. So here's what we'll be discussing, the small business relief fund that Mike started to mention. And out of that fund, a microloan program. We'll go over some of the details. Is your business eligible? We'll walk through some of the eligibility, the required documentation to meet that eligibility, talk a little bit about the lottery for those applications, the timeline, and then some contact information. So on April 22nd, the City Council approved an appropriation of $650,000 of federal funds that the city receives for its community development block grant funds. So with these funds, the city has created this new small business relief fund, and we plan to release these funds and disbursements starting this month, continuing into July into a microloan program. So the federal government is pretty specific on how we can use these funds, which are tied to supporting the retention of low-income jobs in South San Francisco. And with this, we've developed this microloan program. We think that it would benefit about 50 to 55 of our small businesses based on the $650,000 appropriation. And since we think this program is definitely going to be oversubscribed, a lot of interest, we're developing 3 separate lotteries starting from this month in May to July. And so the lottery will basically allow every eligible business a fair shot at applying for a microloan with the city. Some details about the microloan program. These loans are going to be either $10,000 or $15,000 and are fully forgivable if the business can demonstrate that they retained low-income jobs. These funds can be used to pay rent, mortgage, payroll, or just working capital. For the $10,000 loan, the business has to show the retention of at least 1 low-income employee after 90 days the funds have been dispersed. For $15,000, the business would have to show the retention of at least 2 low-income positions after the 90 days of the funds being dispersed. There's some eligibility criteria, which I'll explain shortly. So only eligible businesses will be able to apply for this program. During that first 90 days of the loan, the terms will be 0% interest with deferred payments for the first 90 days. So the eligibility criteria, we have 6 criteria. The first one, the business has to have a physical location in the city of South San Francisco. Number 2, the business has to be open and operational in South San Francisco for at least 3 years. And that 3-year mark would begin tomorrow. So 3 years before March 6th, 2017. Number 3, the business has to have a valid South San Francisco business license. Number 4, so this would be there's 2 options here. So the business has to either employ 2 to 25 employees, or they have to demonstrate that the business generated less than $5 million in annual gross receipts. Number 5, the business has to be either located in our CDBG program area, which we'll show in a second. We have a map and a really good map tool where you can just type in the address, so it's pretty easy to check. So the business has to be either located in the program area or employ at least one low-income employee who lives in a low-income census tract. So all this will be really easy through a GIS portal. And the last one, number 6, the business has to demonstrate that it was economically impacted by COVID-19, continues to be impacted. Actually, let me just walk back to what is a low-income employee. So we'll provide through the application the thresholds of what a low-income employee makes. And this could be a low-income employee that lives in San Mateo County. Or it could be an employee that lives in another low-income area, say in Oakland, for example. So for example, those limits are pretty high. So a low-income person in San Mateo County is somebody that makes less than $97,440. So it's pretty high. A person living in Oakland, for example, in Alameda County, would have to be making less than $73,100. So it depends on where the employee lives. Here is our CDBG program area. So this is what the dark shaded area in orange. These are the areas that are in the CDBG program area. So if your business is located in this area, you would automatically meet that qualification of, is your business in the CDBG program area. Here are some of the documents that you might need for the application. So, a standard copy of your South San Francisco business license. This could even be a JPEG picture snapshot with your phone where you can upload it, or a PDF. Documentation showing the number of employees, or a document showing the total gross receipts, a document showing the low-income employee pay, and we're looking at February 2020, right before the COVID-19 crisis came on board, and then a address verification of the employee. So we're looking for a pay stub, and then something, if the pay stub shows the address, great. If the pay stub does not show the address, then a W-4 or an I-9 would suffice. So for the lottery, the city will be holding the 3 different lotteries. The first one will take place next week, so the week of May 11th. And so with the application opening up this week, Wednesday, tomorrow at 10 a.m., it'll close at 5 p.m. this Friday, so it'll be open for 3 days. All the applications that are submitted will be then reviewed for eligibility. All the applications that are eligible will be then put into a lottery next week, May 11th. We'll then pick, the lottery winners will then be further looked at to do some underwriting, and then the loans will be dispersed after the loans have been approved. So here's that timeline again. So that first round of applications opens up tomorrow, May 6th at 10 a.m. Closes Friday, May 8th at 5 p.m. This application will be on our website, ssf.net/biz resources. And then again, we'll hold the first lottery the week of May 11th. Here's the website we mentioned again, ssf.net/biz-resources. Of course, our email address we mentioned, bizresources@ssf.net. Phone number, and then we also have a phone number for Spanish speakers. And then I'll turn it back over to Leslie.
Okay, thank you, Ernesto. I'm going to keep that screen up for just a second so people can write that information down. And while we're keeping that screen up, I am going to introduce Nell Sealander, and she is our Deputy Director for the Economic and Community Development Department. And Nell, I'm going to turn the screen over to you, and you're going to actually walk us through how to actually fill out this application. So Nell, I'm going to hand it over to you. There you go.
Great, thank you, Leslie. Thanks, Ernesto. I am going to share my screen. I think, I don't know if you can see it now. Leslie or Ernesto, can one of you chime in and let me know if you can see the small business application?
Yep.
Looks good.
We do, thank you.
All right, so as Ernesto mentioned, we will have a online application for this program available on our website beginning tomorrow at 10 a.m. So I'm just going to briefly walk you through how to complete this application. If you've applied for any other loans or grants since the shelter in place started, you should have all of the information at your fingertips to complete this application. Our intention is really to make this as seamless and straightforward as possible. So when you click on the link, you will be directed to this landing page, which says Small Business Relief Fund and describes the program. And this description here is essentially what Ernesto just walked you through. We highly, highly encourage you to read every line of text on this application, as it's really important that you have a firm understanding of the application criteria, the program criteria and eligibility prior to completing the application. So basically, you know, this is a loan for $10,000 to $15,000. We expect that the $650,000 appropriation for this program will serve about 50 to 55 businesses, depending on how many businesses have a $10,000 loan and how many businesses have a $15,000 loan. The first application period begins this week, and these are the program details that Ernesto already outlined. So what you'll do is you'll click at the bottom of this page. There is a blue button that says Apply Now, and you click on that button, and it will ask you to sign in. So I've created a dummy account, actually using my daughter's email address to log in. So I will log in as the user, and it will take me to the same landing page and to begin the application. So creating a username is very simple. What it will ask you to do is enter an email address. It will ask you to enter your password twice, and then it will send you a confirmation email, which you will then click on to confirm your email address and begin the application. So we'll go ahead and begin the application. And this is just some very basic information for your slide room profile. You'll want to register probably as an organization or a group, since you are representing a company, and that will ask you to enter your organization name. So you can say your business. We'll call us Business One, and just briefly fill out this information. So I'm using City Hall as our address. So it will ask you for your business name, your first and last name, your primary address, that should be your business address, and then a phone number. And this information is just to create your profile. It won't necessarily be added to your application. Then you will continue to the application. And the first thing that you will see is a form called Application Acknowledgement. The full application has 5 forms. They're all quite brief. And this application acknowledgement is particularly important because it is asking you if you have the authority to submit the application. So Are you a business owner or an authorized representative of the business? It also asks you to acknowledge that by submitting this application, you are not necessarily entitled to a loan, right? We're asking you to acknowledge that there will be a further loan underwriting process that will determine your eligibility for the loan. What we're asking you to do here is provide us with some preliminary eligibility criteria for us to enter you into a lottery. So you will click agree, and once you agree to the statements, then you can begin the application. So the first thing we'll do is we'll walk you through the preliminary eligibility criteria, and this is what Ernesto referred to. We really tried to create a step-by-step process that if you answer every question as prompted, will lead you to the documents you need to upload. So first, we're going to ask you if your business is located in the CDBG program area, and there is a link in that question. It says click here to see if your business is in the area. So we'll click on that, and it will take you to an interactive GIS map, which is taking a little minute to load, probably because I'm sharing my video right now. And so you'll just enter an address. So probably we'll use 400 Grand Avenue, which is City Hall, which we know is in a lower income census block area and should qualify. So as you type, the address should appear. If it does not, just hit enter. And if your address is in an eligible area, you'll get a search result that says, congratulations, that address is eligible. And then you just have to close this window and go back to the application. And where it asks, now that you've looked up your business, is your business located in the area? You say yes. And then you're done. So had we entered an address that is not eligible, that is not in the CDBG program area, we would click no. At that point, the application would prompt us to answer questions about our employees. So let's first answer the first question, which says, you'll need to confirm that your employee, the one that you believe would qualify, lives in a low-income census tract or a low-income block group. So again, we're going to go back to that map. Might take a little moment to open. And I'm going to use an address that I know works, that I tested yesterday. It's in San Francisco. So your employee can live outside of the city of South San Francisco. In fact, they can live outside of the county, but they need to live in a low-income census block group. So we will look up 2520 25th Street in San Francisco, and that will return a positive result. Congratulations, that address is eligible for a business loan. So we'll close that window and go down and continue this application. And I apologize, I've got to plug in my computer really quickly before it runs out of battery. But below the map link, you will see a number of incomes listed, and those are the incomes that qualify for a loan. So if your employee lives in San Mateo County, they'll need to make less than $97,440,000. If they live in San Francisco County, the limit is $71,700, and so on. So we've listed the income levels for every county in the 9-county Bay Area. If your employee travels an even further distance, if they live outside of the 9-county Bay Area, please send us an email at the email address that Ernesto provided, bizresources@ssf.net, and ask us to confirm where your employee lives and if it qualifies. So now you've looked up your employee's home address and you've made sure that the county in which they live, their income falls under the low income limit. So now you can answer this question. Does your business employ at least one low-income individual who lives in a low-income census tract? And we can answer yes. And it will ask us to upload the employee's pay stub. So we're asking for a pay stub from February because obviously we know that there could be a reduction in pay due to COVID-19 if their hours were scaled back. But so we're trying to get a picture of what was happening with your employee prior to the shelter-in-place order in San Mateo County. So we'll choose a file. I have some test company documents set up here, and I've got a dummy pay stub, so I'm just uploading that. This is a JPEG. So if you don't have a scanner and you cannot scan the employee's pay stub, you can simply snap a photo with your smartphone and upload it to the application. And here you'll see that it's previewing what that document looks like, so you can make sure that you uploaded the correct document. So that pay stub should include the employee's home address. If it does not, you'll also need to upload a document like an I-9 or a W-4 that shows where that employee lives. Okay, the next criteria is, do you have an active South San Francisco business license? This is really to make sure that you're a business in good standing with the city. It will also help reinforce when your business opened and what your business address is. So I have another dummy business license that I can upload right now. So I'll click yes. I had a business license prior to the shelter-in-place order. We understand that if your business license expired and you needed to come in and complete that in person, and since City Hall offices, the physical locations are closed and everything's being done online, we want to provide you a little bit of a grace period. So as long as your license was active prior to March 16th, you're in good shape. And again, you can just snap a photo of the business license that you may have hung on the wall of your business, or you can scan it and upload a copy. So we'll choose a file here. And we'll use, this is a great one. This is C's Candy. Well, C's Candy is too big of a company. They don't qualify for this small business relief fund, but they do have an active business license. So that's the one we're using as an example. And again, once it uploads, it will show you a little thumbnail of what that business license looks like. All right, now we'll need to enter the date that the business opened. Again, this is to make sure that your business has been open for at least 3 years. So we'll say that we opened January 1st, 2016. We know that is prior to May 6, 2017, which is the 3-year cutoff. And finally, we'll need to determine that your business meets the definition of small business. Now, this definition is consistent with our commercial eviction moratorium, which the city manager, Mike Futrell, mentioned at the beginning of this webinar, this town hall. So first, we'll ask you if you had between 2 and 25 employees, because that's the simplest question to answer. So let's say I marked yes, I've got between 2 and 25 employees. So now it will ask me to upload a payroll statement that shows my total employee count. So again, I've got a dummy file here, and this is just a simple payroll statement which lists all of the employees that my fake company has, and that will upload quite easily. Again, this can be a JPEG, it can be a PDF. What we're looking for is the information, not the format you uploaded in, so we can be accommodating there. And that's all that you will need to do. Now, let's say you have 26 employees. You can't answer yes to this question, so you'll answer no, and the application will prompt you to provide information about your gross receipts. So if your business has 26 employees, did you generate less than $5 million in gross receipts prior to March 16th? Let's hope that the answer is yes and that you qualify for this loan. So we'll answer yes, and it will ask you to upload documentation of that. An acceptable document would be your 2018 Or if you were ahead of the game and aren't utilizing the extension, your 2019 accepted tax return. So again, I'll choose a file. I have here the corporate tax return available on the IRS website, just as an example, and that is a PDF. So that uploads quite quickly. Again, it will show you a thumbnail, so you get a picture of what that application or that document looks like. And then it will allow us to continue to the next step. So there you've got your 1120 form, which should show, I believe it's Schedule C, that will show your profit and your loss. And so we will be able to see that you meet the $5 million in gross receipts threshold. So we'll continue to the next step. And now now that you've been walked through the eligibility criteria and have a good sense that you qualify for this program, we'll start to ask you more information about your business. So you'll do business name, we'll do your location. We do ask for your zip code, and this is just to triple confirm that you are located in South San Francisco. We'll ask for your business owner name. So if the business owner is completing the application, let's put their name here. But if you have partners, let's say there are 3 business partners, you can add additional business owner names. You can add up to 3 additional names besides your own. And then finally, you'll need to let us know what type of ownership structure this is. So I'm going to say that my dummy business is a corporation and that our website is the same as the city's. So you do not have to enter a business website. We encourage you to do so that we can learn more about your business, but it is absolutely not required. As we know, not everyone has a website. And as you'll see here, when I type in www.ssf.net, the first thing that pops up is a little preview of the website, which shows our COVID-19 updates. Finally, contact name. So if you, let's say you own a business, but your manager is extraordinarily involved in your day-to-day operations. They make sure payroll is done on time, they help you file your taxes, or maybe you have an accountant that really knows the most about your business in terms of its finances, you can enter their name here as the contact name. That said, this is the person we are going to be reaching out about if you're selected from the lottery and to ask you for additional documentation to see if you formally qualify for the loan. So pick the best person from your organization and put their name here. So in this case, I'll just enter myself. I'll put my business phone number and I'll put my business email address. And then I'll continue to the next step. Now, the next form is trying to determine how much your business has been impacted by COVID-19. So all you have to do is show any impact. It can be your costs have quadrupled because all of a sudden you have to provide masks for all of your employees. You have to separate them a safe distance. You are now shipping your product and offering free shipping to customers in order to get the product out the door. Maybe you've hired delivery drivers. So all of those things could be a cost increase that are still a financial impact. Many of you may be experiencing revenue declines. That is more straightforward. So we're going to ask you about both. So when did your business start experiencing financial impacts? This may be the date of the shelter-in-place order, March 16th. Some restaurants, we've heard, were experiencing financial impacts quite a bit before then. Customers just nervous about going to eat in restaurants where they might be crowded into a smaller space. So let's say that we began experiencing impacts on February 15th, 2020. That's a perfectly acceptable date to enter in here. Then we're going to ask you to provide a brief description of those financial impacts. So this is your opportunity to explain in your own words what you've experienced. I'm just going to enter something very, very simple. Loss of customers and revenue. It can be that simple. It can be much more detailed. It's really up to you. Next, we're going to ask about your if your business has experienced decreases in revenue or increases in expenses or both. So here we're looking for both types of financial impact. So let's say you've experienced both. So we're going to estimate the decrease in revenue, and we'll use a big round number. We'll say that the decrease in revenue has been $250,000 since, and this would be since February 15th, 2020. That is the total estimated decrease in revenue. And then it'll ask us about those increases in costs. So let's say this is we operate a restaurant, and now we, in addition to losing business, we have also bought masks, sanitizer, and paid for extra cleanings. And so that's cost us $30,000. So that's a cost increase. We're also trying to get a sense of what you're planning for in the future. So when does your business foresee financial conditions improving? If you're let's say you're a business supply company or a construction supply company, and you know that folks are still going to need to fix their plumbing and buy a new light fixture. So you have some reasonable certainty that once the shelter-in-place order is lifted and folks really come back out and start frequenting your store again, you expect your revenue to improve. So in this field, you could type something as simple as when the shelter-in-place order affecting my business is lifted. So if you're considered non-essential right now, once you're essential again, then you expect your business to return. If you are a restaurant and you say, we might be dealing with decreased occupancy requirements and just a nervous customer base, maybe you're not expecting your revenues to return to, let's say, quote unquote, normal until a year from now or 6 months from now. You can also type that in this field. All right, so the last few questions in this section are simply asking you to provide your gross revenues from March 19 and March 2020 to give us a snapshot. What was your revenue last year? What is it now through the shelter-in-place order? So let's say our revenue in March 2019 was $100,000. Make sure you've got the correct number of zeros in there. And then in March 2020, so a year later during shelter in place, your revenues are $75,000. But April, you've got the whole month of shelter in place. Last year, our revenues stayed strong at $100,000, but this year they've declined to $25,000. And finally, since May is not completed yet, we'll ask you about May 2019. But your May 2020 will just be an estimate. So let's say our estimate is going to remain the same as April, 25,000. Anytime you see a star next to the question, that means that the question is required. So be sure that you enter something in that field. Next, we'll ask you about your business interruption insurance. So if you have business interruption insurance, have you filed a claim? Let's say yes. Now it's going to prompt you to answer just one more question, which is, what is the amount that you anticipate to receive? So let's say your insurance company came back and said, we're rejecting this claim. We will not provide business interruption insurance. You would enter 0. Let's say your insurance company is going to pay out a claim and they'll pay $10,000. So you can enter that here as well. The last 3 questions in this section are asking you about your employees prior to and after to the shelter-in-place order. So prior to March 16th, let's say that this company had 26 employees, but now it only has 3. Okay. And then, do you foresee laying off additional staff in the next 90 days? Let's say yes, and it will ask you to describe that. So I'm going to say anticipate laying off one more employee in the next 90 days. And now you can continue to the next step. So this is the last form. Thank you for sticking with me. So if approved, what will this funding be used for? This does not obligate you to spend the funds in this way. We're just trying to get a sense of what you intend to spend this loan amount on. So let's say we're going to use it for working capital. We're paying our suppliers. I'm going to just ask for $10,000. And then we ask, would this loan, will you pursue forgiveness on this loan? So just to reiterate what Ernesto said at the beginning, if you maintain 1 or 2 low-income employees for 90 days after the funds are dispersed, you can apply for loan forgiveness. That's the requirement to have your loan forgiven. So I'm going to say I'm going to request $10,000. I fully intend to maintain 1 low-income position. And at the end of 90 days, I will seek loan forgiveness. So I'll click yes here. And now the application will ask you just to affirm that you will be ready to provide a plan for how you're going to maintain employment of that individual. So I'm going to click yes, I will provide a plan for retaining that individual if I'm selected from the lottery. And then I'm going to move on to the last few questions. So one thing that's particular about this funding source that is providing these loans is that it's federal. And the federal government has a number of other loans for COVID recovery, including the SBA Economic Disaster Injury Loan and the Payment Protection Program. You can't use the federal funds for the same purpose. And so once you're selected from the lottery, we will ensure that you're not doubling up on those federal funds. And so here we're just trying to get a sense of whether or not you've applied for those loan programs or those grant programs, so that we know when we look at your application down the road if we should be doing that calculation. We also want to know if you've applied for San Mateo Strong funding, for example, or maybe you've submitted an application for Facebook or Salesforce's grants to small businesses. So let's say I have applied for the Paycheck Protection Program, and it will ask me about the status of that loan. So granted, let's say the loan was granted for $20,000. And I'll type that into the box there. Then it will ask if I've been approved, and I'll say I was approved for a loan from my local bank, and that's that. Finally, we're asking you about your owner or rental status of your building. So let's say I rent the office where my business is located, and the monthly rent is $5,000. And now we can continue to the next step, and it should prompt you to submit your application. So let's say you forgot to upload a required document, or you didn't answer one of those required questions. It would prompt you at this point to make sure you've actually answered the questions and uploaded all the documents that we need. So I'm going to hit submit application. I get my confirmation number. I would definitely print this page and save it to your computer or print it out physically, and then you're done. So I believe now we're going to turn it back over to Leslie and answer some questions from you. I might ask, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and if Ernesto could share his screen and put the contact information back up, I think that'll be really helpful for people to have available in the future. I don't know, Ernesto, if you want to pop back
It's
on
up
your
there.
webcam and answer some questions.
Yep, it's up there now.
Great, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Nell. We appreciate it, and that's exactly what we wanted to do, was put up this contact information. Again, if you do have a question, we've received several questions through our chat function that I'm going to go through right now, but just to remind people, if you do have a question, you can send it through. If you're on your computer, send it through the questions chat function. Again, you can email us. We do have people monitoring the email at bizresources, B-I-Z, resources at ssf.net. Or you can also text. That's 650-636-6668. So 3 ways to send us some questions. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is go ahead and read through the questions that we have received on our chat function. And then if you guys have any more questions, feel free to, again, submit them that way. And so the first question we received was, when you apply for an SBA EIDL and this microloan, do we get 2 different email confirmations and 2 tracking numbers?
Yes, absolutely. So this is completely separate from the SBA loans. This loan is administered by the city, and any communication about this loan will be through city staff.
And just to reiterate on that point, say the SBA loan was used for rent, then this could be used for working capital. It just can't be the same purpose.
Okay, great, thank you. A person asked, why the 3-year rule?
Yeah, that's a great question. So this council has been, or sorry, this program has been approved by our city council, and these eligibility criteria were really set by the council to ensure that well-established businesses in our community that have made sort of this long-term commitment to South City are sort of first in line to receive these funds. We understand that it will exclude some newer businesses, but given the size of the loans and the amount of funding that is available for this program, that was the eligibility criteria that was selected.
Okay, thank you, Nell. Another question, do part-time employees count as low income?
Yes, absolutely. So if you, so if you're selected from the lottery, we will do a deeper dive into your employees. So let's say you have 2 low income employees who together make up 1 full-time equivalent. That's what we'll be looking for. For this preliminary application, we wanted to keep it simple and not complicate it by doing math about all of your employees and adding up all their hours and dividing by 40 to reach full-time equivalents. We will be doing that math if you're selected from the lottery. And that's when we'll want to make sure that your eligible employees, if they don't have 40 hours a week, you've got a few of them that make up 40 hours a week to meet that full-time equivalent requirement. But for the preliminary application, just showing us 1 employee is sufficient.
Great. Okay, another question. I've only been open since November 2017. Am I not eligible?
No, unfortunately, you would not be eligible. And
okay,
I will
next
say,
question.
though,
Oh, go ahead.
please, if you have not already to that business, please reach out at bizresources@ssf.net and let us make sure that you're connected with any and all resources that are out there for you. We want to make sure that if you aren't eligible for this funding source, that you are applying to everything else you may be eligible for. And Ernesto, Mike Lappin from our team are extremely well versed in the other funding sources out there and will gladly connect you with others that may be able to help you out.
Great, thanks, Nell. Would an S corporation with 1 shareholder employee qualify?
Ernesto, do you want to take that one? So,
With 1 shareholder employee, or so if it's 1 employee on the books, is that what the question
Yeah,
is?
I'm going to, it just came in as what an S, and maybe Yolanda, if you could maybe elaborate on your question a little bit more, maybe we'll come back to you if you guys need a little
Or
bit
send an
further
email.
explanation on that question.
Yeah, or Leslie, if that business owner would like to send an email to bizresources@ssf.net, maybe we can have a separate conversation and get a little bit more information about the business and give her a more definitive answer.
Yeah, and just in general,
Okay.
so that qualification is either a business with 2 to 25 employees, or generating less than 5 million in gross receipts. So that's kind of how we can qualify the business in general.
Okay, great. Thank you. The next question, I believe, is on the application. It says, for the question number 2, SSF business license, besides yes and no, is there an answer? There's an answer for other. What is this other for?
Yeah, I thought it was important to provide that other category in case a business owner doesn't have access to their business license. Let's say that like they don't have the picture to upload. So a great example of this would be maybe you've been diagnosed with COVID-19 and you cannot leave your home. You are self-isolating and you're under strict orders to not leave. Your business license is in your business and you can't access it. If you want to click other and provide, the other is really meant in like, we don't want you to be precluded because you don't have access to a document, but you know you have that document. So if you have an extenuating circumstance and you want to click other and explain that extenuating circumstance, that is the purpose of the other category in basically every single one of the answer choices, right? Because that's an eligibility criteria, we wanted to err on the side of caution of giving folks an opportunity to explain themselves. Another example would be that you applied for a business license on on March 1st. Maybe your business license had expired and you had renewed it, but you haven't received that mail because again, it goes to your business and you're self-isolating at home or something like that. Really meant to describe extenuating circumstances.
Great, thank you. Okay, another question. I don't have any employees in payroll, only independent contractors, but we make only $120,000 a year approximately. Do I qualify?
I believe yes, because you make under the $5 million in gross receipts annually. An example of this could be a hair salon. Frequently, you have a physical location, you are located in South City, you've been open for 10 years, but typically in hair salons, your quote unquote staff are actually renting a chair. And so your revenue is really derived from those chair rentals and maybe a cut of the stylist's fees. So that's a great example where you would have all independent contractors, but a physical location, and you make under that $5 million gross receipts threshold. I don't know if that answers your question.
Great. Okay, is the low income criteria based on the employee's salary or their total income?
I'm going to ask Chris Roma Santa is another staff member, and she is listening in. So I'm going to ask her to text me the answer to this one. But I believe it is the question that this business owner is really asking is, I'm assuming, is if this employee has 3 part-time jobs, are we looking at that employee's total income across their 3 jobs, or just at the salary derived from this one business that's applying? I believe it would be just the salary derived from this one business, but we will confirm that. And this is actually a great question to send to bizresources@ssf.net for us to be thinking ahead about. I will say, please don't let that stop you from applying. Because the worst thing that can happen is that you complete this relatively brief application, you're selected from the lottery, you happen to be the top 10 and you got selected from the lottery, then then that we would parse that out during the loan underwriting process. And if there's an issue then you may not qualify, but I think preliminarily you should definitely proceed with the application.
Okay, great, thank you. And we'll let Chris text you. We can kind of come back to that just to round out the question. But then again, if people do have specific questions, they can email bizresources, B-I-Z, resources at ssf.net, and you'll have somebody get back to you that way as well. Another question through our chat: if we have just been approved for the I believe it's PPL loan, can we still apply? The loan amount that we were approved for was only the payroll amount and nothing for rent or health care.
Yes, absolutely. Please apply.
Great. Next question: what is the interest rate?
So
Go ahead, Ernesto.
So these are starting out as loans, so it's going to be a 0% interest rate for the first 90 days. Once we get to that 90-day period, that 90th day, we'll be asking for the documentation and proof that you retained the low-income employee 1 or 2, and then at that time, it would either be converted to a forgivable loan or it would be underwritten again, and we're quickly developing those loan terms kind of at that second phase of the 90 days, after the 90 days. So initially, 0% interest rate.
You can expect that the loan will be competitive with other sort of COVID relief loans out there. The intention is not to have a super high interest rate if in fact you aren't able to retain the employee and you need to pay back the loan. So we'll be coming out with those loan specifics during that will be written into the loan agreement. So we won't ask you to sign up for a loan without knowing the interest rate. But because we're trying to stand up this program very, very quickly, that's a question that we're still in the process of answering.
Okay, here's another question for you. Can a single owner as the sole employee on payroll apply?
So currently, yes, as long as that employee, or as long as that company with that one employee has gross receipts less than $5 million, they would qualify.
And to clarify, if the employee is married, do we count the husband's income?
So that would probably be referenced in how they submitted their taxes. And that's going to be what we would look at, the gross receipts and kind of who was on the payroll, and that should be explained through the tax documents.
Another chat question: is it a requirement that the low-income employees must live in South San Francisco?
No.
No.
So the employee could live anywhere in the Bay Area, and we provided some of those low-income thresholds. They could live in the Central Valley and be commuting into the Bay Area, as long as they are located in a low-income area that we have as Nell showed, the GIS mapping tool to verify.
Great. Okay, now I did receive some questions through text message. Again, if people have questions, you can send them through our chat feature on the computer. You can email at bizresources@ssf.net, or you can text 650-636-6668. And the first question I got through text was, so I want to be clear, I have applied for the PPP and just got that. I also have applied for San Mateo Strong and for Facebook and haven't heard from them. I can still apply for this grant and it can still be forgiven? ?
Yeah, I'll answer that. So the PPP is used specifically for payroll. That's a federal program. Facebook and San Mateo Strong were all grant opportunities that were not federally funded. So we're just looking at the federally funded. So if that business did receive PPP funding for payroll, they can definitely apply for this, but it would just have to be used for something other than payroll.
Okay, another text I received is, would I have a better chance of getting approved for the $10,000 loan than the $15,000 loan if I qualify for both?
No, so the way that this program works is if you meet these very preliminary eligibility criteria that are included in the online application, you'll be entered into a lottery. We'll select the first 10 folks from the lottery just in this first round, and those businesses will then be qualified for whatever size loan they're requesting. So as long as you can, through the underwriting process, demonstrate that you're eligible for 10 or 15,000 by demonstrating, okay, I'm going to retain 1 employee or 2 employees for 15,000, then you would qualify for that $15,000 loan through the loan underwriting process. At the end of that, we'll see how much money, if everybody qualifies for the $15,000 loan, then we'll obviously have less funds available for the second and third rounds of applications and lotteries that we intend to do. This is probably also a good time to mention that if you complete the application, the reason why we're separating this loan program into 3 application periods and 3 lotteries is because we want to make sure that we're not leaving anyone behind. We're sort of treating this first round as a little bit of a test to see how the application goes, how quickly we can underwrite the loans, and how quickly we can disperse the funds. This loan program is unlike any that that's happening right now in our sort of Bay Area. Most folks are doing grants. I think the city of Santa Cruz is the only other one doing a loan program, and this is really a requirement of the federal source of funding. It has to begin as a loan. So we're trying to make sure that everybody who's eligible has equal access to these loans, and that's why we're doing the 3 lotteries. So please, if you are ready, please submit in this first round, and we'll fund, about 10 loans that way. And then if you aren't selected from this round, but you do meet our eligibility criteria, we'll automatically enter you into the next round of funding, but we'll also open the doors to anyone that missed the first round and that feels like maybe now I actually do need to apply for some funding. So that's the reasoning behind having the 3 lotteries.
Okay, I've got 2 more questions here, and again, if people have questions, you can send them through the chat feature on your computer. You can email bizresources@ssf.net, or you can text 650-636-6668. But I'll take these 2 questions. If we don't have any more after that, we'll end this town hall, and you can always reach us afterwards. But the next question is, if I use the loan for rent only, would it be forgiven? Because my business is not allowed to be open for now.
As long as you retain those employees, then yes, you would be considered for having it converted to a forgivable loan. So this is like an interesting problem, right? You may need to use those funds for rent, but the intention of the loan is to maintain the low income, those employees. So as long as you're able to do both, then yes, you would be considered for loan forgiveness.
Okay, thank you, Nell. And the last question I have right now is, so when we go on the website, where would the application be under?
Yeah, so and I hope everybody can still see the PowerPoint that shows the websites, but that is the exact link. So you can go to ssf.net, click on the COVID image, or you go directly to that website link, ssf.net/biz resources. And I think it's probably literally like the first program description. So currently on there, you'll see kind of the information about the program. You'll also see a link to this PowerPoint that we just described. And then there's kind of a link that's ready for the application, which will go live tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, I don't see any more questions in our chat function. I haven't received any more text. Actually, one more came in here. Would it matter the 3 owners of the business make less than the income threshold? Would they still qualify?
Yes.
Okay, Well, I'll tell you what, I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up. I do want to repeat a couple of things. Everything that we discussed this morning on this town hall will be available on, as Ernesto mentioned, the city's Special Business Recovery Resources webpage. Two ways you can access it. If you just go to ssf.net, you'll see the COVID right there on your home screen. If you click that, you'll see a business recovery area. You can get to it that way, or if you want to go directly to it, you can go type in ssf.net/biz, B-I-Z, resources. We will put today's audio and video. Again, that will be up on our website by 2 p.m. today. We'll have the audio and video. We will also have all the Q&A listed that was on this town hall. We'll have that up at that same location by the end of the day. Again, city staff are available by phone and email to assist you. We strongly encourage you to contact us. You can email us, bizresources@ssf.net. You can also call 650-829-6648. But again, we just want to thank you all for joining us. This was really, I hope, a productive time for y'all. I hope that we were able to answer your questions. Know that the city is here for you. We are doing all that we can during this difficult time. Please do reach out to us. We will try to find any way that we can assist you. Thank you for joining us this morning, and have a great day.